As many of you probably figuring out by now, this is not just a channel about celestial phenomenon, atmospheric phenomenon. Really, this is a channel for all of us to think deeper. There was a time when philosophy was considered to be the highest profession. We've lost that. My thought is, let's talk about death. It's a subject that I can assure you, you and I share in common, intimately. I may never see your face, may never even know your voice, but I can assure you this, you and I do share one thing absolutely in common, and that is death. You and I are going to die. It is a subject that we avoid, but yet, every one of us give much thought to. And even when you say, oh, I don't think about death. Yes, you do. We all do. So let's talk about death. Is death a frequency? Science is starting to prove that it is. It's starting to show some things about how our brains work and what happens at that moment of death. How the brain, it is not sudden. Apparently, even in cases of cardiac arrest, blunt force trauma, it seems the brain still goes through this pattern. I mean, it's just not instantaneously. It's very interesting when you begin to think about it. And again, when you think about how often it is with our planet that there seems to be a force field, whatever you want to call it, that stands between the living and what we call the dead. I've been thinking a lot lately. We've all lost loved ones. Some of us have actually had those that we love die in our arms. Those that are caretakers in the hospitals, hospices, many times see their patients die. I wonder, though, is it possible that we could actually create our own death reality? That's why religion is here. Religion allows us the freedom to basically kind of give us a free pass card. And I don't care what religion it is. It basically comes down, because it's the question that haunts our species. What happens at death? Now, I know for myself, I've had 2 near-death experiences. Contracted spinal meningitis and Lyme disease, was in a coma for 8 days. According to the medical charts, there was a couple of times that they said I had passed on. Don't remember it. Can't tell you a thing. And that's an interesting point, isn't it? Death really is life's way of firing you. Death defined is basically the sensation or end of life, right? Irreversible cessation of circulation of blood. The heart stops beating and cannot be restarted. No oxygen source to the cells. Sensation of the brain activity ends. But experts don't agree on a single definition of death. And in my case, if a person is in a coma, well, fortunately, I still had brain activity. But if a person has a heartbeat, but no brain activity, are they dead or are they alive? So what is death? Well, the first edition of the Encyclopedia Britannica, this was before Google, death was defined as a separation of the soul and the body. I happen to agree in one of the videos I put, by the way, whoever wrote that, thank you, that it's not a question, do we have a soul? You are a soul, a living soul. Think about that. You have a vibration. You know, folks, if there's one thing I hope you really do get from all these videos, folks, it's about frequency. Everything. When you get mad, it's frequency. You get glad, it's frequency. But I digress. So now the latest definition of death is it's 3 times as long, and the more we learn about death, the harder it gets to defining it. Wow. And so you can see centuries ago, it was pretty simple. He died and, there wasn't any heartbeat. Couldn't find anything. They put a feather underneath your nose, and if that didn't move, you were dead. I think, though, sometimes that when we want to define death, I think we should define what is life. I mean, seriously, you think about it. I wonder what death feels like. I mean, is it a warm blanket or an ice storm? Is it true love kiss, or is it a knife through the heart? Don't know. Don't know. There are 3 things when they've done surveys, when they've talked to people. They talk about death. And it seems like it comes down to 3 things. Not spending enough time with the people you love. Think about that this here in the United States with Thanksgiving. Not working on what you really enjoy. Can I tell you something? To all you young people that are in your 20s, break free of the enslavement. Do what your heart tells you, what you really enjoy. Yeah, don't become slaves to the machine. We thought we had the answers in the 70s. Best thing that we had was music. And of course, last but not least, not making a difference. So, is this what death feels like? No, I don't want to do that, do you? I mean, have you ever gone out and bought burial insurance? You don't typically start thinking about that until you get about 50. But you ever go and look at caskets? How they try to sell you a casket? I often wonder, does it really matter how much padding is in there? I mean, really? Do I really care? I don't know. Death is the stripping away of all that is not you. The secret of life is to die before you. The secret of life is to die before you die and find out there is no death. I really do believe that. I think it's really, birth was no easy process for any of us. I haven't seen anyone that really remembers it. I don't think death is going to be that traumatic. If men only felt about death as they do sleep, all terrors would cease. Men sleep contently, assured that they will wake the following morning. They should feel the same about their lives. If you come in more and reconcile yourself that you're going to die, that it's going to happen, you're going to start really focusing in on life. And it's amazing what you can change, folks. There's no personal situation that cannot be changed. I like this. Knowing how to die is knowing how to live. What is death anyway? It's the outcome of life. Let's look at more. What is death? Death is simply leaving the body, just like leaving any vehicle you drive. The life energy that is life remains eternal in the universe. Therefore, my dear friends who lose their loved ones due to any reasons, be assured, your loved ones are still there. They are eternal in the form of life energy. We shall never go away extinguished. We shall always be there eternally. Just make use of your time in the physical body to evolve to touch your life energy to the deepest excellence of quality, so that we all meet in the beautiful state of excellence quality and the sense of heaven itself, and in the deep and in the meaning. I recently came to know a very long lost family member, and I can tell you this is true. Here's another one. Today I interviewed a woman who is terminally ill. So I tried to delicately ask, what is it like to wake up every morning and knowing that you are dying? Well, she responded, what is it like to wake up every morning and pretend that you are not? Yeah. Great philosophers of our times have thought about this. And I can tell you, if you take the time, study philosophy, study the greats, you'll learn so much more about yourself and humanity. Here's one. Death is like an arrow that is already in flight, and your life lasts only until it reaches you. Here's another one, Josephine Day. I expect that this is what death is like when you meet it. Sort of wildly unfair, but inevitable. Boy, isn't that the truth. Plato. In every succession of life and death, you will do and suffer what like may fitly suffer at the hands of like. This is the justice of heaven. Chew on that one a little bit. Here's one. I know what it's like to want to die, how it hurts to smile, how you try to fit in but you can't, how you hurt yourself on the outside to try to kill the things on the inside. Wow. Here's another one. Life is a malady in which sleep soothes us every 16 hours. It's a palliation. Death is a remedy. O sleepers, what a thing is slumber! Sleep resembles death. Ah, why then dost thou not work in such wise as that after death thou mayest retain a resemblance of perfect life, when, during life, thou art in sleep, so like to the hapless dead? Hey, that Da Vinci, man, loved would be in that guy's head. Woo! Here's another one. Love is watchful. Sleeping is another metaphor for death. It does not slumber. Wearied, it is not tired. Pressed, it is not straitened. Alarmed, it is not confused. But like a living flame, a burning torch, it forces its way upward and passes unharmed through every obstacle. That's us, folks. Remember the first and second law of thermodynamics. Energy is neither created nor destroyed, correct? Here's one. Longfellow. O sleep, sweet sleep, whatever form thou takest, thou art fair, holding unto our lips thy goblet filled out of oblivion's well, a healing draught. I think that maybe in that death experience we do find healing. Here's a great one. Only happy people have nightmares from over reading. For those who live a nightmare reality, sleep is a black hole, lost in time like death. So many different thoughts, huh? Sleep is death's younger brother, and so like him that I never dare trust him without my prayers. Sleep, those little slices of death, oh how I loathe them. Edgar Allan Poe. The premeditation of death is the premeditation of liberty. He who has learnt to die has forgot to serve. You know, life is nothing but servitude, right? There is no death. Death is very much like sunset. It is only an appearance, for when the sun sets here, it rises elsewhere. In reality, the sun never sets. Likewise, death is only an illusion, an appearance. For what is death here is birth elsewhere. For life is endless. Wow, love that. So, death does not differentiate between rich and poor, wise and foolish. It truly is an equal opportunity. So what happens? I mean, is the soul released from the body? I think it is. I don't know if it's possible that you can make the transition. Let's say if we take someone like Ezekiel or Enoch or many others that, that did not taste death. Well, how do you know? The body is not eternal. Something had to happen. I mean, is it that we have the experience that we know? I know a doctor who worked in the ER, served his residency. He said he could tell when people died. He said he could tell the difference between people who were happy, or what there seemed to be two different states. Those that seemed to die in fear and those who seemed to die in peace. Go figure. I went and began to look at some experiences of people who've been brought back to life. I've had an NDE, so I can only say how dying feels. Blissful, serene, exciting, peaceful, relaxing. I feel like there isn't an accurate word in English that describes how truly wonderful it feels. Disclaimer: it may be terrifying to others. I am the variety who hopes reincarnation is a myth. Okay, here's another one. 3 years ago, I had some heart issues, and my doctor sent me home wearing something called a life vest. Essentially a bunch of monitors and an excellent external defibrillator. A week or so later, I had a cardiac arrest. The monitor showed me in flatlining, but the vest did its job and resurrected me. How cool is that, folks? The process of dying was remarkably peaceful. I just drifted off. No pain, nothing bad. As far as what happened once my heart stopped, I have no recollection. When I eventually die on a more permanent basis, I love that, I can only hope it is as peaceful as the first time. Here's another one. It would probably be useful to differentiate between having a near-death experience and what we can imagine about dying and never coming back to life. As far as I remember, there are 3 stages of dying: clinical, biological, and organic. That's true. And you can see that in clinical death is what the heart stops. This is the type that yielded the near-death experience accounts, only because the other 2 types of death are deeper and more likely irreversible. And even if people could come back from them, they would not be functional enough to tell their story. In a biological death, the organs such as liver, kidneys, pancreas stop function. In an organic death, the brain starts dying off. So it seems that death is not a sudden event, but rather a progression toward what we currently would call scientifically irreversible. We simply do not yet know enough to do that. Reversibility would depend on how long the person is moving toward death. Isn't that interesting? And how deep the damage is. The longer it is, the deeper the damage. Mostly brain damage is irreversible. However, the organs can probably be and would up again, just like the heart, and regain enough of the former function to keep the person going. Some people can come back to life with a partial brain and organ damage and be functional to a different degree. This is what the risks are that doctors mention when discussing bringing someone back from a coma. Well, we've all learned a little bit more, haven't we? So I'm going to end it out here. What is death? It's nothing to be afraid of. And I think that if we can discuss this and come to grips with it, then we're going to live life all so much more fuller. And when that moment comes, may we all cross over peacefully. Be kind to one another.